Hello, Musto0063 back again, and welcome along to part 3 of Shovel Knight. Last time we spent what seemed like quite a long period of time mucking around in the village, talking to various people, getting a few achievements, beefing Shovel Knight up a little bit, and now we're going to Pridemoor Keep, Lair of King Knight. And remember what I said back in part 1? Go left. Yes, they were nasty, in inverted commas, enough to hide a little area here off to the left, and since it has a music sheet, it is really one that you want to get. There's also a, you might have noticed some sparkles there in the little pit. Now that we've purchased the fishing rod, that's an indicator that all the sparkles in a pit are indicators that we should indeed fish in those particular spots. And eventually, once the exclamation marks appear, if you reel up the rod or whatever, you get a prize. Sometimes, like there, you'll get a goldfish, which gives you lots of extra gold. Sometimes you'll get a trowel, which will be a red fish, which will come up and say, hey, don't eat me. I'll give you something in your chalice. We'll see that a bit later, actually. And sometimes you can even get music sheets from fishing in certain spots. So, yeah, definitely worthwhile, provided you've got the fishing rod, of course, actually spending the time to fish when you see sparkles in pits. Now, I said in an earlier part that I probably wouldn't perhaps speak so much during the game, as much as I perhaps do in Mega Man. I get the feeling, actually, that I probably will, but just from the point of view, I'm not going to be maybe pointing out every obstacle on every screen like I've perhaps done in those games, but I've noticed that I talk quite fast in those ones. I feel like I've got a lot to get out, and I need to get it out quickly. Whereas here, I can take a bit more time, talk at a slightly slower pace. So I imagine I'll probably end up speaking for quite a lot of the time, just not quite so fast. As you can see here, I'm also fishing at this spot. I think this is another goldfish. Yeah, there we go. But we saw one of the little kind of staples, I guess, of King Knight's stage. These kind of pots. Not quite sure exactly what's in them. I wouldn't hesitate to say lava, because it doesn't quite seem right. But yeah, that's kind of one of the gimmicks, if you will, I guess, of the stage. So you obviously just have to kind of pay attention to the liquid falling out of the cauldrons and just avoid them as best you can. So here we're coming up to the kind of helicopter, well, you've seen them a little bit earlier, but helicopter mouse, helicopter rat enemies, and they're kind of cute, kind of adorable, but some screens they really do get in the way, and there are lots of them. Here they're not too bad. And actually here I show off something you can do with reflected bullets. So yeah, if you're... It varies enemy to enemy, but certainly ones that fire projectiles at you, you can certainly send them back flying at the enemy. There's an achievement for doing that, or a feat for doing that, about I think it's 30 times or so, and it can get kind of irritating, you kind of feel, but if you do it during the course of the game, it's not too bad. There's also a very, very nice spot later on in the game where you can just kind of repeatedly do that ad nauseam in quick succession, which certainly helps things quite a lot. You'll notice there that I've broken the checkpoint there. I couldn't do in the opening stage of the plains because it just wasn't able to actually do so. But now we're actually in one of the order of quarter stages. The checkpoints are now breakable. But if I die, then I won't have that will not serve as a checkpoint. I'll have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level. So it's a very nice risk-reward situation there. You may have noticed that by breaking apart the checkpoint, a whole bunch of money spilled out. Obviously, that increases my gold count and means I can, buy things a lot quicker, and which is nice, and certainly what will help bulk Shovel Knight up. And as I'm feeling reasonably confident, having already played this game, completed it through on both Wii U and 3DS, that I probably wouldn't anticipate dying, particularly on in these kind of earlier stages as well. That ultimately breaking apart the checkpoints doesn't hold too much of a risk for me, but certainly in later levels, and as I'm trying to go for the checkpointless achievement, I think which is breaking every checkpoint in the game, that obviously in some of the later levels gets a little bit nasty. You kind of think, well, that really is kind of risky, but again, I was confident enough in my own ability. Here we've got a little kind of nice timing kind of puzzle with the platforms and the cauldron dripping, whatever it is, and a silhouette of Shovel Knight as a door. So yeah, if you hover Shovel Knight over that silhouette, we get to this secret area and a chest. And I wasn't expecting that. Chester, in the village or out in the field, I have all the deals. You're not going to believe what I just found in this chest. Want to see? So we get the Flare Wand, and this is a very, very useful item. It is also very, very cheap. You know, it was only 1,000 gold. I might have been a bit cautious maybe earlier in the village in not buying certain other things. I'd forgotten a little bit just how inexpensive this item was, but it's a very, very good one. It basically just means you can fire a blast or fire a shot, a bit like in the style of Mega Man, if you will, at least from a pellet point of view, rather than dealing melee damage like Shovel Knight usually does with a shovel. You can kind of deal long-range damage by firing this fiery blast off at enemies. It goes a very long distance, and it can be very, very useful. As I say, it's very, very cheap as well, which is an excellent thing as well. So here I could have spent a bit of time messing about firing back these guys' projectile shots back at them, but I just kind of thought, I'm not quite sure the distance that I need to be away from them in order to do that, so frankly I didn't bother. We do have what actually looks like 2 paths here, so I do spend a little bit of time mucking around just showing off what would happen if you went one way or the other. They'll branch, they'll come back together at some point as well, but just to kind of show off and break apart that checkpoint as well, not just not to forget it. That's what happens if you go up, but there's a little area off to the left, and just to get a few extra kind of money, I guess, really, I think is the only real benefit to going in, so I don't believe there's a music sheet this way. But yeah, I'll go to the left and show it off, why not? I should be trying to show off as much as possible in the game. But as I said, there are possibly little hidden areas that I still don't even know about, so yeah, I don't claim to know where absolutely every single extra hidden path is. We do have a slightly annoyingly placed little enemy here, which is actually very, very difficult to fire the projectiles back at it, so you just have to kind of approach cautiously and just kind of take it out to close range, or that was what I would suggest anyway. You may have noticed a little kind of tell on this screen, a bit like on the planes, where it's kind of seemed like there was something that you could break apart. On this one, it seems to be kind of a little kind of shield icon or something on walls. Usually that means, yeah, whack it with the shovel and yeah, you can progress through the wall. For some reason, I felt the need to show off what happens if you go off the top of the screen, although it would have been blindly obvious if I'd gone off the bottom of the screen here. But anyway, I dropped down just to complete the path, dig up this this dirt bit, and also show off that there are little bits of money hidden behind these flags or shields or whatever. Not terribly too important at this point in time, but it'll be very important for one particular feat to remember that they're actually there. And I completely forgot where the safe spot was for this little griffin when it breathes out the fire. So yeah, the little left-hand edge of the area over the gap is a pretty good safe spot, as I hopefully demonstrate here. Yeah, pretty good safe spot there. When you get the opportunity, just go up to the griffin and whack it in the head. If it looks like it's going to slash its claw at you, just back off. It'll do that if if it thinks you're sufficiently close that it will actually hit you with a claw. But yeah, if you back off, then it's not too bad. Here is the screen with all those propeller rats or propeller mice or whatever, however you want to rather refer to them. And say they're not usually too bad, but when you start putting loads of them there with bottomless pits, I start to get just a tad nervous, because there's always a possibility that I'll just miss time a jump or miss a line or something and get hit and then fall into the pit. So yeah, and there are a lot of them on that screen, believe me. It's actually a very good screen for getting to particular feats where you've got to like destroy a lot of enemies in quick succession in a short amount of time. But just generally, that screen just kind of makes me a little bit on the nervous side. You might have seen me actually use the propeller mice, rats, whatever. I think I'm going to call them mice from now on, just from the point of view of not having to repeat myself. But if you are able to bounce up to the top, then you get over to the right, over the top of the wall, and you get to this little secret area. Again, not mandatory, I don't believe, for anything like a music sheet or anything. There's certainly not Chester here or anything like that. Interesting here, there's a little wall that you just saw I broke apart there that did not have any kind of a specific tell that you could break it apart, so hence my proclamation that I don't know where all the secret paths are, because I'm sure there are some areas like that dotted around throughout the rest of the game that I don't know about. I did happen to know about that one though. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't think there's anything specific here, so I didn't see me collect any music sheets, and certainly there weren't any chests or anything, I don't think, or if there were, it only had money in it anyway, so yeah, not mandatory to find this little area, but anything that helps me boost my money up and means that I can purchase items a lot quicker than I perhaps otherwise ordinarily would do, that'll be great. So I'm not too worried anyway, because I do have to be breaking apart the checkpoints, so I'm getting a lot of extra money than I wouldn't ordinarily be, but yeah, every little helps. Okay, so there's a little kind of extra area to the left here, which I do a terrible job of actually doing anything on. It's possible certainly to break apart that wall and get to the area to the right, but I messed that up a bit and took a hit, which is not good either. Okay, I feel like these enemies is a good thing to talk about. It rather annoyingly, although somewhat cleverly, when you attack from above, puts its shield up to stop you from pogoing it, which is very, very sensible. It obviously means it's a bit hard to kill, but as you kind of just saw there, a decent strategy seems to be pogo to make its shield go up, then drop down to the side of it, and then whack it from the side. It seems to work pretty well as well. If you actually base it out enough, it will actually motion like it's going to charge at you. When it does that, you can actually pogo on its head, and it won't raise the shield, but you take a bit more risk of suffering some damage that whole time. So, but either is fine. Little hidden area over to the left here, and this one is kind of important. It's got a music sheet there, as you can see. Again, slightly nervous that I don't make a mistake and don't accidentally shovel thin air and run into a propeller mouse, particularly with the revolving platforms on the bottom of this pit there. But there aren't too many there, so yeah. Again, nothing especially too tricky. And as you just saw there, you can also whack off the heads of the little knight statues and collect some extra money for doing so. Now, we just saw there, don't worry, it's going to come into play here as well as I fish. Actually, I'll talk about the fish here as well, since it's going to, I'm going to fish a red trowel fish, and it'll basically say, hey, don't eat me, I can refill your chalice, blah, blah, blah. If you don't have both your chalices refilled, it will, I think it's random, I'm not quite sure whether it's actually whether it's predetermined for each fishing spot what it'll give you, but yeah, if you have got spare room in your chalice, it will allow you to it will fill it up with something. But as you can see here, I've got two chalices. I've got both of them filled with ichor, so he just goes away and says, "Oh, you've got them already filled. I can't help you." But yeah, the other gimmick which you've seen here is the books. So bounce on it, pogo on it, and you get some pages that kind of appear as platforms. These disappear after a certain period of time, and you need to hurry. Particularly on this last little bit where you can see the cauldrons dropping all their spewing their lava, whatever that may be, cooking oil, whatever it is. But you do need to rush very, very much on that last section, because it's going to be very kind of hectic if you're just kind of waiting around for the cauldrons to stop, or for your path to be clear anyway. We're pretty much near the end. We just have one more of these griffins. So yeah, just if you're getting close actually and make it claw at you, you'll stop it doing this fire attacker, which is it's still easy enough to dodge, but you know, you do have to know where the safe spot is. Where with the claw, provided you stay far enough back, then it's dead easy to dodge, and you've got no problem whatsoever. Last checkpoint, collect some money, and we are at the boss. King Knight. An interloper is in our midst. Begone from our throne room, knave. I'm no more an intruder than you. You aren't even a real king. Oh, but you're mistaken. The enchantress saw me for my fabulously regal self, and now all bow before me. You're not but a decadent dandy. Prepare to taste justice. Shovel justice. Silence. Probably my one of, if not the favourite line from the entire series, or the entire game, that is about the decadent dandy. That was just brilliant. But anyway, this is the boss. He's King Knight. I probably saved talking about the kind of like maybe favourite and the difficulty for the knights for a bit later. But King Knight likes to spend a lot of time jumping around. He'll sometimes jump really high and shake the ground, in which case if you're on the ground your shovel gets stuck and you have to kind of wrestle it out. He also does that attack that you just saw with the fanfare, with the trumpets and whatnot, and the confetti that rains down. The confetti will actually hurt you, so you need to stay out of range of that. But there's probably a reason why I took this guy on first. He's a good first one to go after. Let's just leave it at that. And I got Get the Point achievement for destroying all checkpoints in a single stage. So this time we actually won't get a dream sequence. That was just for the end of the... Well, we'll have more throughout the game, but we won't have one at the end of defeating King Knight. Although we would have done if I'd already actually beaten Spectre Knight, which is the other Order of No Quarter Knight I could have gone after at this point in time. But since he was the first out of the two, No dream sequence. We just wake up the next day, presumably. Put out the campfire again like a responsible citizen, and this time we'll exit to the left of the side of the screen. Why not? But we're not even that close to actually finishing this video. We've got a few other things to kind of take care of. So there's this wandering icon knight that kind of appeared, and they do that from time to time. So sometimes there'll be boss battles, sometimes there'll be treasure things that will kind of appear on certain stages. In this case, we've just got a little bit of a kind of an extension, if you will, to the plains level. You can clearly see it's taking the sprites and the background and the enemies from the plains level, so it's clearly that. It's very, very short, as we'll see. We've probably only got maybe about 15 to 20 seconds left of the level, but it's just a little extra area to collect some extra money, really, which is, again, I'm not going to turn my nose down at. But yeah, I just think this is pretty much the end of the level here. Once we get by, collect these gems, watch out for these that I don't get hit by those annoying skeletons which are pushing back in the pit, and yeah, we literally are done. But we still have a few things to do. So I've collected a whole bunch of money, and I've also got some music sheets. I think I'm going to turn those in a little bit later. Yeah. Oh no, I'm going to turn them in now. Fine. Thank you. I could have watched ahead and remembered that I did this now. But oh well. I think I'm going to probably turn in. Maybe I'm not. Maybe those were the only ones I'm going to collect, or the only ones that I collected in this video. Still, anyway, I turned in the music sheets. I had 2, so I get an extra 1,000 gold for doing so. We're going to head down, and we're going to speak to this guy who previously said he wanted the King Knight to be defeated. King Knight reigns no more. Huzzah! Now I can rule Pridemoor. Hurrah! I can't wait to greet old Plume and Beaky. They probably can't wait to see me. But he doesn't give us anything for actually talking to him now King Knight's defeated. Oh well. And since I've got a whole buttload of money now, let's go talk to Chester again, and we'll purchase the other item I could have got right off the bat, which was the Chaos Sphere. Not an especially great item, if I'm being honest. I rarely tend to use it unless I'm getting a certain feat, but we'll need it to collect the full arsenal. And I just also should mention the Chester. If you didn't find him in the level, because I found him and he gave me the flare wand. If you don't find him in the level and you complete the level, he will have that same item available in the shop, as I just did there. It will be more expensive, so that is a downside to not finding him in the level. I don't know whether it's double the price or whether it's just 1,000 gold more or whatnot. So if you can find him in the level, great. You'll have to spend less money. You'll spend less money on purchasing all these relics and everything. But don't despair if you don't find him in the level. You can always get the relics in the shop at a later time. So yeah. I also bought the meal tickets because I have still loads of money left, and it's always good to increase my health bar. And provided I don't make a fool of myself, I'm pretty sure I buy a magic upgrade here. I think that I've got enough to be able to buy one. Yes, indeed, I do. So my magic capability is now up to 40. So it was 30, and the relics cost different amounts as well. So do pay attention to the potion costs, if you will, of all the relics. I do believe the flare wand is probably one of the more inexpensive ones, though. So I think we pretty much are done now. That's me showing off that I still can't progress because that lock's still in place where I need to defeat Spectre Knight. So yeah, we are done for this video. That was part 3, and we took out King Knight, first order of No Quarter Knight taken care of. And next time we'll be going after the second knight or the only remaining one we can go after at this point in time. We'll be going off to the Lick Yard, the lair of Spectre Knight. So hope to see you next time. Till then, cheerio.